Orlando joke this time. We've already done it too many.
But are we in Orlando?
Okay. You never listen to me. That's why I apply zero trust to Sean. Here it is. Zero trust.
User behavior in the flesh right here.
I've been applying zero trust to salespeople and marketing.
Oh, there you go. Whoops. I'm not doing any marketing today. Man, it's exciting. We got to yet another podcast, video cast, whatever you want to call it, conversation. I like to call it conversation. Right here, Zero Trust World 2025 with ThreatLocker in Orlando, Florida. And Sean, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I just have to say, I'm meeting some really cool people.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, this is my jam. This is nerdy enough, but people who understand the business and are actually getting stuff done, which is really, really cool from my perspective, from what I talk about all the time. And we have Art with us today. Art, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. Loving the conference so far. Got to speak today.
Right.
You know, it's a great time. Love networking. Love seeing all the not only corporations and individual businesses, but the MSPs involved in zero trust and cybersecurity here.
Very cool. What did you talk about?
I talked about applying zero trust to incident response and really kind of like the zero trust mindset, the assume breach, the always verify, never trust concept to incident response and preparation for an incident.
You have nothing.
Oh, I have a lot, but I'm giving you room because I can talk. So,
well, I can go deep, but just the idea that zero trust plays a role in IR is a little mind-boggling, right? Because I think the whole point is shift that as far left as you can.
Yes.
So tell us about that connection.
Yes. So a lot of people in the preparation phase, they're thinking about securing the edge, securing some endpoints. They're thinking about your standard security. They're not really thinking in a zero trust methodology. I like to identify protect surfaces and figure out, okay, these core systems, let's secure each of them individually with micro-segmentation, figuring out an identity system and then securing the identities, when and where and how they can access those core systems. And then, really protect each component of those systems. Like if there's a backend SQL server, does it really need to be able to be accessed by the rest of the network? Or just the application server? And is the application server public facing, or does it only need to be facing users that are authenticated to the domain, and how can I segment that off and protect that? And so setting that up that way with that zero trust methodology is going to reduce my blast radius in an incident. So then when there's an incident, SQL Server's not affected now, and I'm not having to worry about recovering all that data. It's okay if I have to rebuild that application server, but that SQL Server is intact with all the data. So I'm thinking about that kind of thing in preparation. But when I'm rolling into the incident, when there's actually an incident and I'm having to contain that incident, zero trust tooling and that approach to tooling will help me contain better. So let's say instead of EDR, which is a normal containment technique, which is great for forensics, gathering artifacts, EDR is very effective for that. But let's say we're past the identification phase. We know the IOCs, we know what the attacker's already doing. We're just trying to stop the bleed at this point. Applying a whitelist only or allow list only solution to all the servers, I'm able to stop any kind of bleed and contain the attack right away.
So it's a dynamic apply list or allow list based on the response.
In the ideal world, it's dynamic. When I'm getting called in, usually it's from somebody who's already on fire. Usually it's not somebody we're managing. So I'm deploying a deny by default solution immediately to a customer that I have no experience with this network. So I'm just shutting down everything basically. And that allows me to create a containment so that I'm able to start doing a QA forensics process on each machine and bringing them back into production with that whitelist, allow list only, principle, so that they only have access to servers and systems and people that I'm allowing them to. So threat actor can be in the environment still, and still is in the environment. Threat actor is still in the environment, but cannot access the things I'm recovering.
And you can
Okay,
probably spot it as well.
So I'm very visual in my head, and I like movies. So as you're talking, I'm thinking like we're on a spaceship and there is a fire, or the aliens are coming in, and there's all these doors that shut down, right?
Yep.
That's the picture
That's
I
exactly
have,
it.
right?
That's those airlock doors. that are,
So that the pilot can still do his job, is not gonna get mugged.
exactly.
Okay,
That
all right.
is creating that.
I hope
container.
that helped.
Yes. Very visual way to think about it, but that's perfect. And that way, it's okay if some of the parts of the ship burn.
Right.
We're still functional craft going
Right,
forward.
right,
And
right,
that's
right.
really how we want to be.
Right, and you need to prepare for that. I mean, you need to have the door in place. You need the system in place. So that's the zero trust applied to
Exactly,
that before it actually is needed.
Exactly, because it's
Right.
really hard to deploy it once there's no Active Directory. Once your systems are down, it's really hard to deploy something afterwards.
Right.
So that's it. That's we're on fire. Let's instant zero trust
Yep.
everything. You also mentioned the using it to kind of, I guess, scenario driven, right?
Yeah.
Here's what we want to happen
Yeah, ring
or
fencing.
not happen
Yep.
when an incident occurs. So we're going to build our zero trust policies. How do you help organizations with both of those, and how does ThreatLocker help? I guess.
Yeah,
Better
so
question.
I like to think about work with an organization who already kind of has an understanding that they want to go zero trust, and then I have to work with the business and get their executive buy-in, because they're the people who break the concept every time. It's always wanting to push too hard, or not wanting exceptions to the zero trust idea that the executive team will kibosh or slow down a project. So I need to get their buy-in first. Then identify those critical systems. And a lot of companies, it's their finance system or their ERP system or their CRM, and figure out what their protect surfaces are. And then you're mapping the data flows then. Once you've identified a protect surface, pick one. Don't try to do all of them at once, you'll never get anywhere. Pick one, and I map the identities that need to have access to it, the networks that need to have access to it, the other systems. How are you backing it up? How is it authenticating? Figuring out the flows of identity, of data, of access to that environment, and then work methodolically, come up with a process to secure each component of it. So the data, the systems, the identity, the workloads, really everything behind it needs some security. And so it can become a sprawl. If you're thinking about network ACLs, if you're thinking about file permissions, if you're thinking about identity, there's a lot of things here. So you need to really document each piece of it and come up with an action plan of how I'm going to secure this database server, this application server, and work with a process through it. If you just try to attack the whole thing at once, you'll never get anywhere.
Wow. So how do you convince people to go that much into zero trust? I mean, we talked a little bit before start recording, and we talked already with every other person in this conference pretty much that is about the culture. People are going to get bored with me saying that, but I'm a culture kind of guy, less than technology, culture. So is it hard to kind of get people in that mindset where you need zero before and zero after, too many zeros?
Oh, very hard, very hard. And a lot of companies want to have that family feel with the company, and so they want to be open and transparent with everybody. And so when you say the word zero trust, it's like against that.
Yeah.
So zero trust is kind of a
that.
bad branding because of that. It's really ultra secure, not zero trust. But that is a difficult thing to overcome with the organization. And usually I'm doing it by, not doing everything at once, by just saying, okay, let's assume breach and run through some exercises and say, okay, if Deborah over here was compromised, what systems could Deborah's attacker get access to? If Steve was compromised, what could Steve have access to, and what could the attacker destroy? And if the DVR system was compromised and they had access to that, can they access the rest of the network from that? So I'm working with them through some scenarios and then make them realize, okay, so if these compromises happen, which system is most important to protect?
Right.
What do you want to protect? Then just focus on that.
Right.
But you're already starting to get them thinking in that assume breach mindset. That's the important thing for that cultural change.
Yeah, the scenarios. I like that.
Exactly. And then once you have some momentum going, then you can affect different parts of the organization. I'd say nobody should ever go full, like, you're never going to do that methodology to everything. It's just going to be, those core systems are going to be ring-fenced with that kind of that technology, that documentation, that work that you've put to secure them around each one of them.
So I'm picturing playbooks, IR playbooks, as a way to maybe help visualize what you're trying to achieve.
Yes, yeah.
And maybe some, I don't know, red team, blue team exercises and things like that.
We need to test it,
Do
definitely.
you find that happening more, or what's your perspective?
Oh, well, yeah. With our clients, I will do we'll roll out like ThreatLocker to do the ring fencing for us. I'll do some network segmentation with like VLANing and create a bunch of documentation, and then we'll run a purple team engagement really, with a automated pen test solution and see what our SOC sees, see what our IR team sees, etc. And then have a manual engagement where there's a live red teamer trying to engage in an attack.
I'm changing my approach to life, actually. Even more zero trust than what I ever had. But no, I think it is important that and you mentioned it's psychology almost. You need to. It's like, Sean, I think you've been doing this for a very long time. I've been doing this for a long time, and cybersecurity is always a department of no. And when you're not zero to no, I think it's people just kind of start like fuming, smoking their brain and smoke come out of their ears. But with the right approach, it's it's a, I don't know, it could be game changing.
Yeah.
For the survival of the business. So.
And I think avoiding that department of no is probably a key thing for any VP of security, any CISO. Really. Yeah. We have to learn to be collaborative with the business. Yeah. How can I put these controls and safeguards in place, influence the culture, make friends and influence people, influence the culture without being no everywhere. And that's difficult, but if you can involve them in those decisions, help the business think in that assume breach mindset, then hopefully they start coming to you saying, hey, we need to limit this.
Yeah, that's where you want to be. And I think that's overall the business need to be when you understand that it's part of the business to be secure, and that's.
Well, the business thinks in terms of outcomes. They want good revenue. They want growth. They want happy customers. They also want to be secure. Somebody says they want to be insecure. So if they can see that as an outcome, and then work back from that in terms of what does an incident response look like, and how do I ensure that we're secure ahead of that event. That's why I love this chat.
You love it, but you don't have any more questions? There's no one more question.
You're not going to let me do it.
No. We got, time is up. Art, great conversation. Yes. Really love it. Sean, well, you were here, so I love you too.
All right.
But for everybody listening, I do love you guys. You just stay with us here in Orlando, bringing to you this event, which is amazing, honestly. Ton of smart people, way smart. I'm definitely not the smartest one in the room, by far. Zero Trust World.
Everybody's here to learn. That's the thing.
Zero Trust World, Orlando, 2025. ThreatLockers. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming to you.
Thanks, Art.
Thanks a lot.